So in this video we're going to be discussing posture, and we're going to be looking at how we can correct those dysfunctions that we previously highlighted. So maybe having an exaggerated anterior tilt, perhaps having an exaggerated posterior tilt, having rounded shoulders, having kind of a slouched kyphosis in the upper back, and also the internal or external rotation of the sort of foot placement as well. So number one thing we're going to start looking at is the pelvis and the dysfunctions that we see there. So the most common dysfunction that we see at the pelvis is that a lot of people tend to have an exaggerated anterior tilt. So that's when the pelvis is tilted forwards, and so we end up with this larger curvature in the lower spine. And that's usually coupled with a forward shift as well. So we end up seeing a couple of other things happening and occurring in the body. So if we look down the body towards the knees, we end up with locking back the knees. We end up with our weight in the balls of our feet. And so to counteract this forward movement, we tend to see this kind of slouching of the upper back and this upward turn of the rib cage. So we end up with this really exaggerated curvature in the lower spine, a real compression of that thoracic spine area, that middle part portion of the spine, and often a lot of back pain and discomfort. So this might be ringing alarm bells with you. You might feel that you have got this exaggerated anterior tilt. To correct this, the key areas we need to look at is the hip flexors and the hamstrings. Now those areas, because of this dysfunction, or because of the dysfunction that they hold, tend to be very tight and hold a lot of tightness there. Now this can be due to many reasons. It could be due to your day-to-day life, it could be lots of sitting down, which causes tightness in these muscle groups, where they get more adept, more used to being in that shortened phase, and so therefore they don't get to be very good at the opposite function, which is being nice and long and lengthened. So that being that kind of hip extension. It could be to do with stresses and holding our tension in those areas due to day-to-day life and being causing us some stress. And often postural issues come from our self-confidence and our ability to feel comfortable and open to express our sort of more open posture. So often we see kind of slouching and closing of the shoulders, rounding of the shoulders, to do with more of a confidence issue. This also tends to come from, especially in women, tends to come from kind of copying others. So we see that kind of like hip lean and lateral shifting in the hips. So that kind of leaning this way, that sort of posture tends to come from kind of idolizing someone, copying their characteristics and their movements. The pushing the knees back often comes from areas where we almost want to feel like we are pushing to the very limits of our sort of structure. So we often don't feel like we have completed a movement or finished our standing up phase without that sensory response. And so that locking back of a knee, of a joint, so often we see that in the knees, is that kind of correction of, oh yes, that's met its point of resistance, and so I'm ready and I'm standing upright. So we tend to have to take quite a long time trying to adjust those and get those bad habits out. Softening the knees is definitely one of the more difficult things to fix, because it really does involve us having a good amount of consciousness and not looking for that feeling, but changing the response that we are looking for. Okay, so those are really the characteristics we see with the anterior tilt, the exaggerated anterior tilt in the pelvis. So they're the characteristics that we tend to see with the exaggerated posterior tilt, which I personally find very difficult to demo because I sit more in the anterior side, is often a slouching of the back. So we tend to see this kind of forward movement of the hips, but this kind of counteraction with this compression of the rib cage and kyphosis in the upper back, so it's arching of the upper back. So this often comes from a different sort of seated posture. If we sit and slouch all day at our computer or our desk, then we tend to take that same posture with us when we go elsewhere. this is often also a key component in somebody who hasn't got a lot of self-confidence, in that kind of closing off and protecting themselves kind of posture. And that is often coupled with that internal rotation of the shoulder joint and that internal rotation of the humerus. So that's indicated by a shortening of the pectoralis major. So this pec muscle here, that gets tight and short because it gets comfortable being in this rounded body position where we're sat at the desk, where we're looking down at our phone, where we're kind of feeling unsure about ourselves. And so the more it spends time in that shortened phase, the better it gets at it, the not so good it gets at being in the open and extended phase. We also then tend to see a tightness in some of the other musculature around the shoulder and often in the lats. We also tend to get an overworking of the upper traps, and the mid traps, so in between the shoulder blades, actually tends to just go completely turn off and just stop working. Just say, hey, you can take over upper traps, you can do this job. The job of the upper traps is to raise that shoulder up, and so we often see a coupling with that internal rotation with a shrugging up of the shoulders as well. So to correct all these things is actually quite an easy fix. We just first of all need to figure out that we have the issue. We need to identify those issues within our body, take a look at what our characteristics are. Is it an exaggerated anterior? Is it an exaggerated posterior? Do we have a compression of the ribs? Do we see that this kind of down phase in this upper portion of the abdominal muscles? Do we see this curvature in the upper spine? Do we see this internal rotation here? Once we've identified what those characteristics look like on ourselves, then we can start to identify how to correct those, and we can start to change those. So we can start to think about standing upright more, opening the chest. We can start thinking about tucking the tail under if we've got that exaggerated anterior tilt, bringing ourselves back into an anterior tilt if we've got the exaggerated posterior. And we can really start to think about how our body should align. What we are aiming to achieve is a nice straight line throughout the body, and all of the joints to be stacking one on top of the other. So our bones have a nice stacking linear look rather than kind of angles happening throughout the length of our body. The last one to look at is the foot placement, which is the external or internal rotation at the feet, and that is really governed by the glute medius and abduction happening to combat the fact that we can't get into that good alignment and that good tilt at the pelvis. So it kind of coincides with the tightness of the hip flexor and the hamstring, and is one of our ways of kind of moving around that. Where if we want to walk, when we want to come through that extension phase, because of this tightness we can't get there, what our body very cleverly does is it takes us into an external rotation, an abduction, and it tends to come into that kind of lateral shifting. So as we're moving, we kind of shift laterally, and we see that rotation occurring in the pelvis. That tightens up the glute medius and therefore pulls the feet into this external rotation, so the duck feet turning out, which is really, really common. Probably the most common we see is the feet turning out. But some of us get the opposite, and we also see a weakness in the inside of the thigh here, and that is the internal rotation and the knees kind of knocking in. So you might identify that that's your issue, and so you're probably still going to have that tightness in the glute med, but you're also going to have a look at maybe some tightness or some weakness in these inner thigh muscles. So once you've identified, okay, these are the ones I've got, these are the issues I've got, how do we fix them? First of all, through the conscious decision of changing the way that we stand and the way that we feel in our body, and also through looking at identifying those tight areas and looking at releasing them, looking at easing off, taking that tightness away so that we can get that mobility back, so we can get that alignment back. And then what we can hope to achieve is a nice straight line in the body. So we want to make sure that from the ankle, from the feet, we haven't got that forward shift anymore, whether that be in a posterior or whether that be in an anterior tilt. We've lost that forward shift. We've brought the hips back in line over the ankle, And so what that does to our weight is it pulls our weight into our heels. We then make sure we haven't locked the knees back. If we lock the knees back, we tend to see an anterior tilt because it's very difficult for us to lock the knees and still have a posterior tilt. So we need to soften the knees, have the knees stacked above the ankle. Make sure that we've got a good tilt and neutral spine here in the lower spine. So instead of having an extreme curvature here, rather than either it being kind of this way or it being this way, we have a nice extension in this lower spine. So we've got a nice straight back in the lower spine, nice neutral spine. We want to think about engaging our core. Pulling the belly button in switches on the transverse abdominis, which is one of the deepest layers of the core tissues, muscular tissues, abdominals, and it's the one that helps stabilise the spine. So by pulling the belly button in, it switches that TA back on, which if we've had, especially the anterior tilt, we would have completely switched off. So we switch that on by pulling the belly button in. We think about expanding the rib cage. There's no compression here anymore, we're expanding it out, filling the rib cage with our breath. And we also want to think about opening the chest, making sure the eyes are up. We have a tendency to bring the eyes down. That's again to do with external stress factors. So bringing the eyes up so that the eyes are looking up and out. Expanding the chest and engaging between the shoulder blades. We should be pulling the shoulder blades back rather than letting them kind of fall around the rib cage. Excuse me. So we are nice and upright. Another indicator to look at is the knuckles. If you're standing up and your knuckles are facing forwards, that's a good indicator that that internal rotation has happened up here in the shoulder. And so we need to make sure we're lengthening that pec, releasing the tension here so that we can make sure that the arm falls and the knuckles face the outside of our body. And we're standing tall, that we haven't reduced our height in any way, but we're standing, pushing up at our full height. And lastly, that we check that our feet are facing straight forwards, that they're parallel and that they're directly underneath the shoulders. So we should be able to stand nice and tall and have all of those bones stacking nicely in a nice straight line in the body, rather than having any kind of exaggerated angle in that line through the body. I hope you found this video informative. I hope that you maybe identified some of your own issues. If you have any more questions about this topic, please feel free to get in contact with me either via the Facebook page or you can email me at rogue@fitnessgonerogue.com.